At some point in time, you come to the realization that you want something out of life. No matter how hard life is, no matter how difficult the things you went through were, and no matter how difficult the things you are going through are right now in the moment, you realize you do want something out of life. Oftentimes, I hear people say, nobody wins in life because we all live and die. And I will always say the one thing that's true about that is we all will live and die. But because we all will live and die, that shouldn't be what we use to measure who wins in life. First of all, it should be subjective, just like happiness, just like how rich someone is when they're considered themselves rich. What do they have, their possessions, etc. It's subjective because what I may think is winning in life for me may not be the same thing for you. But because we all live and die, we can't use that as a gauge or something to identify who wins and who loses in life, per se. Because it's just like if everybody was rich, nobody would be rich. If everybody was poor, no one would be poor. So if we're all going to live and die, we cannot use that to gauge. So what I will also respond with that is it's tough love. Stop using something as an excuse. We all going to live and die. Shut up and do the work. Okay, now that I got that out the way, because I always have to do that, you have to realize one day where you're at is not what you want. It may be enough, but just as I brought up, we live and die, you want more. Who's to say it's something wrong with wanting more? Who's to say it's something wrong with you trying to go above and beyond? Like we often say, everybody's going to pass away at some point. So it doesn't matter. I think we're trying to cope with the fact that you're going to die, you don't know when, but that should give you the drive to do something. Every day you wake up, you have a drive. It's either you are going a speed limit or you're not going at all because you're holding yourself back. You're pressing on the brake while you're trying to hit the drive, while you're trying to hit the pedal to drive. You have drive. Everybody has a drive. It doesn't matter if you have a 16 speed, a 10 speed, a 6 speed, or it's automatic. If you're holding yourself back, pressing on the brakes, you're not going to move forward. You have to rewire your brain to get what you want. And why is it so hard to rewire your brain? Because we're often programmed by people, our elders, our parents, people around us, environment, experiences. The people who we spend the most time with, they have the most influence on us. So to rewire your brain, you have to go through that day to day while also trying to replace old habits with new habits or increase new habits to overthrow the old habits that's gotten you to where you are at right now, which you don't want to be. And if you don't want to be where you're at, you know, I have empathy for you, but me having empathy for you, for people validating that you feel some type of way, that's not going to change the situation. It's like a high. You're going to come down from that eventually, and where are you going to land? You're going to land right where you were before you got high, which is you don't like where you're at. You're going to have to rewire your brain to always and continue to move forward. It's almost like as you're winning and getting better, you ignore it and say, I have to keep going because where I'm at right now, I got here because of the work I put in. To at least stay where I'm at, I have to keep doing what? Keep putting in the work. Why is it going to be hard? Because everybody around you may not be doing the same thing you're doing. And people are going to voice their opinions, right? Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. Nobody's are entitled to their own facts. People are going to let you know how they feel. People are going to let you know what they think you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. I'll put it like this. If people are giving you advice and it's pushing you to be better and better and better, and they're actually letting you know, hey, I see you, you're doing a good job, but you're going to need to do better because you have more in you because your potential is there. We see it. I believe in you and I want you to achieve as much as I want to achieve. If that's not the type of advice you're getting from people, I wouldn't take their advice. Not because they're bad people. Let's get that clear, but because their belief system may not be suitable for the system you're going to need to put yourself in the position you want to be. Your life that you want to create, that system that they have, you can't use that same system. It's like a blueprint. You're trying to build a building with somebody else's blueprint. You cannot rewire your brain with the same conclusion of others or the conclusion that you've been using as and it became a habit throughout life, as a guide through life, as something that puts you back in place in life. But because you use that system and you come to the realization you don't want to be where you at, you can't use that system. And oftentimes everybody around you possibly using the same system. So it's not a knock to them, but also pay attention. You don't ever want to knock yourself if you don't want to knock somebody else. It's always a pro and con. It's better to suffer now than to suffer later. It's better to suffer when you're in your 30s or in your 20s than to suffer when you're in your 50s and 60s. It's right in front of us, but you have to rewire your brain to see it as, if I don't do it now, I'm going to hate myself later. But if I don't stick to the blueprint, the new blueprint, I will always come back to what? The old blueprint. And I'll get the same results of the old ways, of the old me. To get what you want, you have to rewire your brain. You can definitely get what you want, right? Everybody can. As long as you're not trying to jump from a plane and say I can fly without something that's going to actually be able to help you fly. You know what I'm saying? Like a parachute or something, man-made that gives you advantage to fly. You're not going to just jump out of a plane and say I can fly just because you believe that. But what can you do? You can get on the plane and go as high as you want to without going into space. You know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want as long as it's reasonable. Nothing's impossible so long as it's not impossible. But you have to rewire your brain. You have to get away from all the negatives, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to sit down and say, I messed up. Listen to me. The old you is going to hate what it has allowed the young you to do. But you're not old yet. But you pay attention to people that are old. Learn from people that are old. You don't even have to judge them. Listen to them. When they say something as in, don't do this. My life sucks, because remember, they're saying their life sucks. We don't have to tell people that their life sucks. We should already be locked in on what the hell we doing with our lives. We can be aware of what's going on. You see what I'm saying? But we don't have time to tell other people their life sucks. We have to be focused on what we can do for us, because we know we want something. The first thing is you have to be honest that you want something. You want something. Some people want to be rich. Some people want to be famous. Some people want to be rich and famous. Some people want to be rich and just nobody know them. Some people just want to live in the middle of nowhere and have everything that they need as far as resources go. Everybody wants something, but even the person that wants to live homestead, they off grid. Sometimes they hold themselves back to do that. Why? Because they're around a bunch of people in the city, and they're using the perspectives of everybody around them because that's what they're used to based on experience and their experiments with life and people around them. And they're saying, you know what? Maybe I should just stay in the city or the inner city because everybody's here. And if I ever open my mouth and say I want to go move off grid, everybody's going to say you're crazy. Everybody says you're crazy until you're thriving with whatever it is you wanted to do. Then you're not crazy. Now you're successful. Now they admire you or they envy you. But it's either admiration, envy, or it's jealousy and hatred. Only a small percent of people are going to actually enjoy your success. And more often than not, those are the people that actually think like you. It's like people having communities. It's like people being relatable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the type of person, do as you want, but you're going to have results. Rewire your brain because you don't like the results that you have. It makes you sick. It makes you upset. You suffer from depression. You suffer from anxiety. You're not even suffering from anxiety from dealing with people, social issues. You're suffering from anxiety because you're dealing with yourself. But, like I said, I'll have empathy for you. I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I'm not going to feel sad for you. I'm not going to say, oh, poor guy. No. I'm going to say, okay, the best thing about this situation is you realize you have a problem. Now, how about we do this? Let's put it all together. Everybody's going to live and die, right? Everybody find out they want something at some point in time, and what you have right now may not be what you want, and what you think you want, it may not be what you want when you finally get it. But pay attention right now. You only have so much time because you're going to live and die. So let's spend the amount of time, however that is, because we don't really know, fixing our problems. See how they put that together? We identified the problem. Now let's spend our lives that we know is not going to be forever fixing our problems, because even though you may not be where you want to be or where you thought you wanted to be, you got there, that's not where you want. You're going to always have to do what? Adjust, rewire, adapt. That's called living life. That's called getting what you want and figuring out that's not really what you want. But guess what? You want something else. So you're going to always want something. Somebody tell you they don't want something, that's what they want. Nothing. You see what I'm saying? It's always and forever will be something. I think we have to admit what we are, human beings. We're heavily flawed. That's why I say some people who are successful, you might think they're ignorant. You might even think I'm ignorant. I'm not saying I'm successful, but it's subjective. It's the people that got everything, the fame, the fortune, the money, everything. They got it all. The women, whatever the hell is, whatever it is, the connections. They're just a people's person, right? You know what got them there? Initially, they didn't care about what people thought because they was too busy caring about what they thought. And they didn't like how they thought when they was at their lowest or what they were doing to put themselves in that position as far as all the circumstances they can control. So you have to do what those people did. Not care, but focus on how you can be better, because if you are someone who's a genuine person, you already know every time we become better, we bleed that into other people's lives. We give back. You can be rich and be a good person. You can be in shape and be a good person. You can be the finest woman in the world, for the ladies listening, and not be so egotistical. You can. Now, is there going to be beautiful women that's full of their egos? Absolutely. Just like it's going to be handsome men that's full of their egos. You're not going to be able to get one without the other, because for the good woman who's not egotistical to be valued, you have to have the women that are egotistical. That's bad. You get the good with the bad. But what are they doing, though? Everybody's getting what they want. Some people cope and say they don't want something. For the people that actually believe that, they say, I don't want anything. That means they want nothing. They still want something. It's a paradox of life. The more you put into something, the more you get out of it. But to get what you want, you have to rewire your brain. But understand, a whole lot of rewiring, you're playing with wires. You never take your hands off the wire while you're rewiring anything. That's the same thing with your brain. You're never going to not be in a position where you have the opportunity to adapt or make a mistake or be successful. It's all 50-50. That's why I love to say in all my videos, and I'm going to keep saying it, it's two sides to every coin. You're never going to get one without the other, because you need the other one to make the opposite valuable. And it applies to each side. It's the same thing goes. Rewiring your brain, you never take your hands off the wires when you're rewiring something. And once you finish rewiring, guess what's still there? The wires. Life, opportunity, unsatisfied, satisfied, hate, jealousy, admiration, envy, everything is there. It's going to be there. Success, failure, life, and death. It's always there. When you are aware, something happens that makes you unaware. But when you are aware, the same thing that happened to the person that's unaware happens to you. You just so happen to be what? Paying attention. Everything is somewhat simple when you pay attention to how it plays out. You see what I'm saying? The person that don't watch their back, somebody walks up behind them. The person that's watching their back, they see the person doing what? Walking up behind them. What's the same thing that happened to each person? Somebody walked up behind them. But what was the cause and effect? What happened? What was the end result? And why? This person saw what was going on, so they was able to react. The other person wasn't paying attention, so they didn't react. But everybody, those two in each situation, and everybody in the world that relates to this will understand what I'm trying to say. Those two people had the same thing happening to them. They just responded differently. Somebody walked up behind them. Problems. The problems are never the problem. The problem is how we deal with our problems. Some people get mad when I say tough love. Listen, it's the only way I know how to get what I'm saying across. But when you listen to what I'm saying it because it's what I was taught and what I go through and what I see people go through without judging them. Like if you broke, you broke. How you going to fix your situation? You got to go work, but you hate working. You hate being broke too, don't you? I know I do. I don't like being broke. I'll do whatever the hell I got to, long as it's legal and I'm not, not sticking to my morals and basically selling my soul or selling myself short or doing something I really don't believe in. But other than that, if it's legal and I can learn or use my hands, physical, man, let's get to work. Because I hate being broke. Some people hear that and they're gonna become philosophers. Oh well, if it wasn't for the government and if it wasn't for money and money is fake, listen to me. What's in front of you right now? You have a government, you have money. Until all that's gone, deal with it. You see what I'm saying? I understand the sympathy and the empathy and everybody need validation, but this goes back to what I'm saying. We all got one shot at life. We all know life and death. People don't think they can win in life because we all die. No, you can't use that to gauge winning in life because we're all gonna die. So that's not it. You have to use what we do within life. You have to pay attention to what people do with their lives and how they overcome. One of the best things you can do in life as a man is create the life you want. Whether you lose it or not, you created it. If you lose it, you a beast. If you recreate it and get back where you was and go even further. So long as you create the life, however long it takes, however many times you have to do it. People have been rich, went broke, got rich again. People was born poor, got rich, stayed rich. People was born poor, got rich, went back poor. People was born rich, stayed rich. People was born rich and went broke. Like it's the same thing go with everything. You can use it for everything. People are in shape today, out of shape next year. And it's not to judge. Pay attention. It's life. What were they doing to go backwards as far as results? They didn't continue to do the same thing they were doing that put them in that position. Rich people get greedy, start taking unnecessary risk. People in shape get greedy, start eating too much. You see what I'm saying? You ruin relationships. You get comfortable. You start looking for new. You can do what you want. I ain't here to judge you. I'm aware. How do men and women separate so much? It's not cheating, it's finance. But for the people that cheat, what you doing? You looking for new. And you end up with what? Something you don't even want. It's just you thought you wanted it or it looked good. You hyped it up. All mental. It's gonna be harder than it's easier said than done. It's harder than saying it. But we know that. So, like I say, put it together. You only got one life. Don't waste time. Spend that time doing what you know is gonna help you. Focusing on what you can control. Action is always better than inaction. This is all a part of rewiring your brain because in a moment when something gets tough or you don't feel like doing something, you understand it doesn't matter how you feel. I have to do this because I'm counting on me. This is not for everybody else. This is for me first. Once I get to where I want to be, I can always get back to everybody else. But I can't give nothing to everybody if I don't have anything for myself.